Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So this is a little bit of a different video. We haven't actually done anything like this in the past, but actually one of our subs got in touch with us and said, to me specifically, Ryan, check out these voice lines for Genji, as he's been added into Heroes of the Storm, as I'm sure that you're going to like a few of them. Now at that point I didn't necessarily know what that meant, but yes, I definitely did enjoy some of the voice lines, to the point I actually want to share these with some of you guys that may have missed them just because you maybe don't play Heroes of the Storm. But if you're into your memes, then you will very much like this video. There's also some pretty interesting interactions here as well between Genji and the other cast members of Blizzard games, World of Warcraft, Diablo, stuff like that. So we are going to scan through a couple of those, look at some of these Easter egg references that are in here, but also talk a little bit about the voice lines in the game altogether. Also, the footage in the background, of course, is Genji again, meaning that we've got Mistronomus doing some amazing plays in the background. And those that browse /Overwatch may have seen a bit of a clip that was on the last video including Mist that actually ended on the top of the subreddit. Here it is again for those that haven't seen it, and for more sort of awesome Genji plays you can find Mist in the description below. And thanks to The Socialist who actually put it on the subreddit. I'm glad that you found it entertaining enough to put there. But anyway, back to the voice lines, and how I'd very much like more voice lines like this in this game. Now, most of these referencing voice lines, I suppose, come from actually just repetitively clicking Genji whilst in game. Very similar to those that have played World of Warcraft. If you continuously pick on someone, basically constantly clicking them, you get some pretty interesting and funny voice lines at them as you start to irritate them. Whilst for the most part the cast of Heroes of the Storm are fairly straightforward voice lines, Genji is far different, and some of these have some pretty good references in them as well. We'll also play a little bit of a game of Can You Guess the Reference? So I'll play the voice line and also who Genji's interacted with, and you at home, I guess, can sort of put in the comments as well and put what he's referring to before I tell you, or who he's talking to. And let's see how high you guys score with points with that. So let's crack on with the first one.
After leaving Overwatch, I wandered the world for many years because I'm a wanderer. Yes, a wanderer.
So the Wanderer, yeah, a Wanderer is a reference to Dion's song, The Wanderer, which of course most of you know from Fallout 4. It was also Chicken Run. That's how I remember it. Actually one of my favourite songs growing up, that song as well, so I instantly got that one, and I hope you at home got that as well. Otherwise we just might not get on anymore.
I am seldom mentioned in patch notes. Most of my fixes are ninja'd in.
Now this is just sort of referencing the fact that Genji hasn't really been in the patch notes as of late. I think the last major changes we saw on Genji was him getting his wings clipped back at Gamescom. Now as well, there are some sort of hidden changes that go in now and again, and whilst there aren't any specific ones for Genji apart from maybe the addition of a 7th strike with his Dragon Blade, sometimes these changes do get snuck in.
Even after years of training, I have yet to unlock my real ultimate power.
So if you want to be an official ninja, you need to go to the official ninja webpage, is where you really unlock your real ultimate power. I actually want to read out this website because this is the first experience I've had of it. But this site is all about ninjas, real ninjas. This site is awesome. My name is Robert and I can't stop thinking about ninjas. These guys are cool. By cool, I mean totally sweet. I guess he means totally sweet as in like sweet and not like, you know, nice. And also the purpose of a ninja is to flip out and kill people. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think so. Genji pretty much hits that. But yeah, that website's in the description. Have fun with looking at that.
My favorite animal? I'd say a grey fox.
Now, of course, this is a reference to Metal Gear Solid. I'm going to be brutally honest, I've never played a Metal Gear Solid game in my life, but I did understand the reference at least. So we're not completely out of the open.
Overwatch saved my life. I was a man barely alive, but they were able to rebuild me. They had the technology.
Okay, so this is a reference to the $6 Million Man, a TV show where somebody is rebuilt as like a superhuman, I suppose. The first time I learned of this reference was actually in the Scrubs episode where Ted and his a cappella group are singing songs from TV shows whilst everybody's rushing around on a night shift. Boing frip.
This body is not a weapon. It's a high-tech prosthesis. That's the best description I can think of.
Okay, so this quote isn't necessarily in reference to anything in particular. I think it's just Genji wanting to cast off the cyborg ninja at least once.
When I used to play in the arcade, I thought that double jumping was so unrealistic. How young and foolish I was.
Now, I think everybody's had this thought when it comes to double jumping. That it's a bit of a silly thing, and I think Genji agrees with all of the arcade games that he played as a kid. But of course, him as a character in Overwatch does have the ability to double jump, so maybe he's realising it's not as silly as he first thought. Now, I don't necessarily want to say too much about this next one.
I used to confront people in conversation. But these days, I tend to deflect.
Moving on, we have A Tale of Two Dragons.
My father once told me a story of two dragons who were grounded for a week because they stayed out past curfew. Very subtle.
Now this is of course a reference to Genji and Hanzo's animated short, with the two fighting there is the story of the two dragons that disagree and fight and then come together in harmony. And I think this is just Hanzo and Genji's father being a little bit taking a liberty, shall we say.
Rim, Ryo, To, Sha, Kai, Jin, Let's, Zai, Zen.
So this is a really interesting one. It is actually in Overwatch, but it's incredibly rare. So I thought I'd talk about it a little bit here. And this is the Kuji-in, which is the 9-syllable seals, which is a sort of form of Buddhist meditation. Knowing that Genji studied some time with Zenyatta, this makes sense that this would sort of come up. But yeah, the Kuji-in, I horribly pronouncing that, I guess, consists of those 9 syllables that are said in that specific order. So it's not really anything new because it is in Overwatch, but it's incredibly rare and I've not actually heard it myself. And a big shout out to my friend Astrolati for sort of listening through it and translating that for us and telling us what it is.
People keep calling me Mr. Roboto. I'm not even a robot.
Arigato, Mr. Roboto, sung by Stykes. I don't need to say much on that, do I?
As a cyborg ninja, my body is always ready.
And of course a reference way back when to one of the E3s quite some time ago that has just become a meme that has lived on for us ever since.
You are now truly dead. I think. It's hard to tell in this place.
Now of course Genji is talking about the fact that the Nexus is in this sort of state of limbo where people don't actually die, they come back. But then again, Genji, you return from the dead. And also, you return from the dead constantly in Overwatch, so, you know, I thought you'd be used to that by now.
That armor looks strangely familiar. I hope you know how to fight in it. I have many questions about your armor when this fight is over.
So now we get to some of the interactions, and this one he's talking to a fella sort of stealth ninja dude, Zeratul.
Hauga!
Now back when this voice line was actually in Overwatch, I thought that he was saying Awuga, which I thought was either a reference to John Fashanu from Gladiators like 10-20 years ago, and also Craig Charles in Red Dwarf. But it's not Awuga, it's Ahuka, which is, are you a moron? So I just love a little bit of the irony in that, I suppose. Now even though we have got talking gorillas in the world of Overwatch, there are some pretty interesting characters amongst the other Blizzard games. More notably talking pandas, as Genji soon finds out.
You're a panda. He's a panda. Talking pandas. Feels like I'm the bad guy this time.
Now of course this might be just sort of stating the obvious really, for the likes of Genji meeting Chen and Lily, who of course are pandas. But it might be a nod to Kung Fu Pandas, I'm not necessarily sure on that one.
You remind me of my master. Though, you have a much better beard.
So Genji is talking to Karazim here, the Diablo monk, who's fairly good at kicking ass himself.
Whatever you said, I'm sure it was enlightening.
So there are quite a few characters and heroes of the Storm that may not actually speak the same language. But this of course is coming from Murky, and when Genji actually questions if Murky is a fish or not, he changes a little bit of his diet because of the introduction.
I can never eat sushi again.
I don't even know if Genji can actually eat sushi anyway, but that's not the kind of question that I necessarily want to ask him. Poor guy.
You need healing.
I beg your pardon, Genji? That's very selfless of you. I'm almost not used to it.
In hindsight, I should have listened when Hanzo said he had the high ground.
And of course, this was the quote that caught my interest. I can't not make a video when there's a prequel meme added into the Blizzard universe. It's just not fair. But that's pretty much all of the quotes that I wanted to highlight in today's video. It's a bit of a different style, so do like this video if you enjoyed it and maybe want us to cover any more interactions that we deem pretty interesting. But let us know what you think, and until next time, take care. We'll see you then.